You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast and check us out online at beardedtheologians.com.
You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold. And today we have some very special guests with us. We have Pastors Katie and Chris Bishop with us. They serve in the Baltimore-Washington Conference. Katie, Chris, we're glad you guys are with us today.
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, always a pleasure. If you will, just tell us a little bit about yourselves and kind of where you serve, and that way our listeners can, begin to know you.
Yeah, right on. So I serve a mobile ministry that the congregation's about 15, I think, coming up on 15 years old now. I've been there for 4 years doing this, what was kind of stated as like a church restart, or a church restart of a 11-year-old congregation at the time. And really missional. We get to worship in a middle school as opposed to we have to. At least that's what I keep saying. And so that's a piece of it, but just fantastic folks, and really, really life-giving. Get to be out in the community a whole lot, and pretty diverse crowd. So it's a place where folks who have been hurt by church can come and feel at home and safe. So that's a little bit about the congregation. But as far as when I'm not working, I like to just be outside biking, playing with the kids, hike and run and stuff like that.
And I serve a congregation in Brunswick, Maryland, and actually it's going to be a 4-point charge. I serve New Hope and Jefferson and Dobbs, Epworth, and then Sandy Hook. And New Hope's the biggest church on the charge. That's my main campus. I'm the lead pastor of a 3-person pastoral team over that. And our goal is to really revitalize these smaller congregations by partnering them with New Hope, which is a vital and growing community of faith. And so we're trying church different and trying to figure out how we can bring life in new places and what it means to be church in a changing community, because the communities we serve all have this massive growth of new homes and new families and younger people, and how we kind of formulate church to make it work like that. So we both serve in very exciting places, family oriented, really community centered. About a third of our time in both of our appointments is intended to be on community outreach, community connection. And that's a real honor to get to serve in those places.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you all on the show is because we got to meet at Relevance Lead several years ago, and we've kind of stayed in connection through social media and stuff. And I know one of the things that you all are trying to do is trying to adopt a child out of Haiti, and I know that's such a huge spiritual undertaking. And so I'd love to hear your story about that, and kind of talk to us about where you all are at, and kind of where you've been, and just anything else you want to share in regards to that. That's really what I'd love to hear. So
our process we had never set out to adopt a child. We were really thankful when we had Eden, and we were really thankful when we had Bethany, but we really kind of felt like our family might be finished. And while at some point we had talked about fostering a child or, working with the foster care system when our kids got a little bit older, it wasn't like adoption was something that we knew God was calling us to until we got ready to go on a mission trip to Haiti. And I went with the church that I serve. They go every year. And I don't know if you've ever been in that place where you just feel like God's going to do something to turn your life upside down. But we were in that place as a family that I don't know what's going to happen, but something big is going to happen. And honestly, as pastors, we kind of thought, well, maybe we're going to get reappointed, maybe it's time for a move. We don't know. And I got on the plane to go to Haiti. And the minute the plane took off, I knew this was part of what this crazy different thing was for our life. And poor Chris was here back with the kids. Actually, they all got the stomach flu while I was gone.
So Katie came back from Haiti amped, super excited, wants to have this big sit down conversation. And it was like, I think God's going to move in a powerful way. And I'm like, man, I have been cleaning barf for like the past 5 days. Can we just
myself while you've been away?
So yeah, can we kind of slow the roll a little bit? And so yeah, it was this kind of progressive kind of conversation of, Katie really, really kind of had that call and that feel at first, and then I was able to go kind of with partner trip. So Katie's New Hope congregation and my Faith Point congregation were able to go together to Haiti that next year, and it was awesome. It was amazing, and we got to go up into the mountains of Haiti and see these people who are so generous, so sweet, so compassionate. Like just, hearts bigger than you could ever imagine, and
genuine, so genuine.
Yeah. And so up on those mountains, kind of then that was the confirmation for me that this was a next step that was going to happen. And so that kind of was the initial catalyst for it. But then the process we didn't realize would be we knew it would be long.
But there are 500,000 orphans in Haiti alone. And so I think we were really naive and just kind of thought, well, there are 500,000 orphans. We want one. How hard can this be? And it is. And it's supposed to be hard because they're trying to make sure that these children are actually children who have a need and that there's no trafficking. And we respect all that. And that the families that they're going to are safe and stable and loving. And we get all of that. But I think learning about the process of adoption and foster care for that matter has been very humbling for us and really empowering in our ministry. We didn't realize how many families in our communities had gone through this particular, experience in their life and how much of a struggle that was. So, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you took the question, you guys have a ghost?
It's our 9-year-old. She's letting the dog out.
Ah, perfect. That was wonderful. No, that's you guys answered the question I was going to ask. What is the process like, and especially as a clergy family, what is the process like? And so you guys kind of touched on that a little bit, because that's something Matt and I talk about a lot, just as clergy families, what it's like doing what we do and introducing our family into ministry and in that. But I guess in the same regards, what's it like as a family and a clergy family going through this process?
We've been really blessed to have really supportive church communities. We call it the Big God family. Our 9-year-old, even when she was little, used to call it that, and that's just kind of stuck, the Big God family.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways our vocation makes it easier because it's always for us a faith conversation. This is something God is calling us to. It's very clear in our spiritual walk that this is something that God is doing in our life, a refining that God is doing in our life, and a preparation that God is doing in our life. And so we've kind of been able to witness that and experience that. And our jobs are really flexible for the most part. So, when we have to go and do fingerprinting on a Tuesday morning, we can go down and do that. And that's not true for a whole bunch of people. A bunch of people would have to take off work and go to do that.
Yeah, and I think that there's a piece of this too that for us, we find the power in the church community, and we've always been married. Like since we've been married, we've always been in different churches too. Yeah. And so our kids have always had at least 2 congregations that really love and care for them, and broaden that out because, especially with the diversity that needs to happen with some of the training and adopting a child from Haiti. And, we are very clearly going to be an adoptive family, because our poor little children, if they get too close to the television, get sunburned,
right.
And so he'll have, a darker skin, and that'll look like so. But then we recognize, and we've told people, like, we're going to have to lean on you, because you're going to have to help us through X, Y, and Z, or tell us the things we don't know, as we kind of learn the ropes. And so, having that community has been a really, I think, comforting thing, going through it. And, they've celebrated with the highs with us, and they've cried with us in the lows, and been there every step of the way. And we just hope that then, when we put on our appointment forms, the fact that, this will really screw up our home study if we have to move houses. Like it'll cost a lot of money, and it'll be a lot of time that the DS and everybody listens. But otherwise, they've been absolutely stellar.
They have been, and we have been really blessed because we ran into a major heartbreak this past Christmas with our adoption. We had raised all the money we needed. International adoption period, but international adoption is very expensive, and we were looking at somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000. And quite honestly, we just didn't have that. And that was part of the faith journey for us too.
Because pastors make bank.
Yeah, we do all the time. But honestly, we just didn't have that. And so, we say to people all the time at church, money is never a reason to say no. We're always like, God's got it, don't let money be the thing that holds you back. And we had to step out in faith and say that too, that this cannot be the thing. This cannot be the reason that we aren't answering God's call. And God's people were so good to us, and God was so faithful, and we worked hard for it, but we had raised all of our money, and in the week before Christmas, always, right? Not like we had anything going on. We got an email from our old adoption agency that they were under a federal indictment, and they lost their ability to adopt children. They were debarred. The State Department launched this investigation. They were raided by the FBI. I felt like we were in a made-for-lifetime movie. Like, it was just like awful. And our money is gone, we had raised $22,000, all gone. Yeah. And we're not getting it back. And, that was awful. It is awful. It was very hard for us. And it has been so humbling to be in that place of brokenness and to have our bishop praying for us and our district superintendent praying for us, because we have two different district superintendents, and of course, and these other pastors who are like our pastors. They care for us and they encourage us, and then our faith communities. Every month I get a letter from one of my churches. Their United Methodist men has prayed for me, prayed for our family that month. And the man who's prayed for us sends us a card, and it's so beautiful. And I think for me as a pastor, sometimes you're always pouring that out. And that's the way it should be. But sometimes it's such a blessing to get a little bit of that back and to see what other people experience of your church too, that this is what other people are getting. It's been we're certainly not done. We're hoping to get a match by the end of the year, maybe, because in Haiti, all the information comes into a central IBIS or clearinghouse, essentially, and they match you with a child. But we might not get a match until next spring, and then it takes another 9 months to bring our kid home. So we're 2 years in.
Yeah.
You talk about your bishop and your DSs and your pastors and colleagues reaching out and being Methodist, that's what we are. That's that connectional, the beauty of that connectional system. That's what we should be doing.
Yes.
And what a perfect example of that working.
Yeah. Well, and I think that we easily get bogged down. We're preparing to go to annual conference next week, and we get bogged down with the kind of negativity or whatever. But, we've definitely seen through this process, more of that positive, this is the best of what the UMC has. It is by no means perfect. There are broken spots, and nobody's going to say that there aren't, but when people come together, it's a beautiful thing, because, I remember getting that email, the week before Easter, and I was helping out with the local high school team. And I showed one of the coaches. I was like, I think something real bad's happening with the adoption.
The week before Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. And, it was one of our last weeks before, last practices before. He had no idea how to, he was kind of like, I think that, but then going to some of my clergy colleagues afterwards, and they're like, we get it. We know, there's this kind of immediate community that you can reach out to. And that's a comforting thing, knowing that like when you are at your worst day, there's some little glimmer, and it can be happenstance, or it can be, just, I mean, that's kind of God moving, is what we're seeing. And so, yeah, it's been a blessing to have that connectional system.
And that was one of the reasons why I reached out to you all, because when I saw that happening, like my heart broke. I was just like, oh, they'd worked so hard to try to get to this point. And I mean, I remember walking to my church on Sunday morning and like, we got to pray for these friends.
Yeah.
You all don't know them. You'll probably never meet them, but we need to pray for them. And then as we've been kind of doing this bearded theologian thing, I was like, hey, we can share their story. And because part of our whole deal with this is to share some good things that are going on in the world. Because the internet is a great place of sharing bad things, but we want it to be a place of light. And y'all's story and your perseverance through this time is a great story to share. And that was like, well, we can have them on the podcast and have them share their story. And one of the things I would the question is like, how can we help you all where you're at, and with some things that we can do to support you all in whatever way possible. What are some ways we can do that?
Prayer.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the big things for us is that prayer piece, because it really has made a difference, is making a difference, and just those reminders. I mean, kind of, Katie's got on a shirt that we've made for our adoption, that just this kind of mentality of being the good, and when we hear stories of people just kind of spreading that grace, that love around. I mean, those are powerful stories, and they're just those glimmers that, I just remember one time when we were having a really tough go of it, when we were, there were some confirmation emails that like, yeah, the money that you guys raised is frozen, and you're not gonna even be able to get it back or ask for it before the FBI and everybody's kind of done their investigation. I was pissed, and I looked up, and we've made like little bumper sticker, little magnets and things like that too. And like, I have no idea whose car it was, but there was one of our magnets like, across the parking lot, and I was just like, I mean, it's that community thing, it's that way of recognizing that there are people that are really journeying along with us has been that motivator in so many places and ways. So,
and I think being an advocate, I mean, one of the things that I think this has really taught me is that the church is supposed to be an advocate for foster care and adoption, and we really aren't, and that starts on Sunday morning when we're welcoming people to church, and it starts with our language, how we're talking in church about family and what families look like and how families come into being. And so, I think, I think that's something that we have to be more aware of as the church is, what can we do for orphans? What can we do for families who look a little bit different or have come or formed a little bit different? We have a great family in our congregation who is in the foster care system, and they're foster care parents, and it's so hard. It is such a hard process for them, and will they ever be able to adopt these children? We don't know, but right here and now they are their children. And so, when we start to label them as something different, or when people at church claim them as something different, it diminishes what they are right now. And so we're learning a lot and we're certainly not finished learning, but we're learning a lot about how we can use positive language for families, and be advocates for foster care and for adoption. I mean, there are so many children in our communities who need love and kindness, and our church should be the place where that happens, you know?
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it's always that awkward little pause. No, but you're absolutely right. The church should be that place to advocate for families, for people who who are fostering, who are adopting, who families who look different, in whatever manner that may be. That should start with us, with clergy, with pastors, with church families. No matter who walks through the door, we should be able to hopefully try to identify with that, with them and where they are in life, and speak to that. And yeah, it should start with us. You're absolutely right. So if you, I love that y'all added that. You started with prayer. Here's how you can support us. Pray for us, please. And that's huge. And I guess one way, other than just being a place where people can come and be understood, what's your advice on advocating? How do we do that? How does the general church or general people do that? What does that look like?
I'll tell you, the number one obstacle to adoption we've experienced now is money. And so, if more churches and more conferences, lots of businesses give kickbacks to their employees if they choose to adopt, they'll do a matching kind of thing with them. The United Methodist Church doesn't. That's kind of bizarre to me. Just because we should be a place where if the regular people down the street are that way, why isn't the church a place where families are able to get a matching contribution for their adoption? If the local hospital is, why isn't the church? And that's a really great way to do it. And there's all kinds of families in our community right now that are fundraising. And so for us, we're having a hard time finding the funds, but when somebody else is having a dinner, we go and we bring people from our church, or there's a family who's done little jars for the pennies, for pennies to go in, and we have a jar, and all of our spare change is going to the Hamilton adoption. It's not a lot, but it's what we can do to contribute. And so I make that really clear at church. They're always willing, put up a flyer on the bulletin board or share it with our email, because there's no, really greater cause than helping these children find homes and find places where they feel loved and safe and where they feel encouraged. And so, we really try to do that as a church.
Yeah. And I think that there's a piece too that's really good about asking questions, that we need to be quick to ask questions. And just like just like any other missional opportunity, whether it's, going to Africa for a mission trip or going to, the urban center of your city and interacting with folks that you don't usually interact with, you've got to be quick to learn. And, it's a different story for everybody. We've talked to a number of different adoptive families, and their story, is similar to ours, but very different. And so, just asking questions, is sometimes the best way to learn how to be an advocate. And then networking. I know that some of our best advocates for, as we've started the process, as the process has gone well, and even when it's gotten hard, we've had a couple of people saying, I have no idea what to do, but, so-and-so may, or I have a friend that you need to talk to. And that's been really helpful.
Yeah.
To kind of have folks who have navigated before, or who know even the stateside system through foster care, how that works, and connecting up with some of those resources, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, or you don't have to, kind of blaze the trail on your own, or as a community, how you can support those agencies and people who do it really well, so that it's not just, a local congregation or a community saying, oh, we gotta start something new. Just partner with people that do it awesome already.
Yeah. Our church did some great work with the foster care system here, and our local Girl Scout troop through Together We Rise, and they collected money for bags for the kids in foster care as they travel from one house to another. So they have their own suitcase that has their own toiletries and and a teddy bear in it, and a little note from our kids telling them that we're praying for them. And I had no idea that was a need until we had this conversation with somebody who had been in foster care and said, oh no, I never had a suitcase. It was throw your stuff in a trash bag. You're going from one house to another. And that's not okay. And for $25, we can get them a suitcase. Come on, we can do that as the church. And so, but it is, you don't even know what you need to do until you're willing to have those conversations. And sometimes it's just calling up the local offices in your town and saying, hey, what can we do to support, the kids in foster care in our town today? What do they need? And one of the things they said to us was they need underwear, and that's not a particularly fun thing to tell your congregation, hey, can you bring in packs of kids' underwear for us? I mean, that's a little strange. But it was the need, and it was great that we were able to fill that need in a real way. But it's being willing to say, look, I don't know what you need, but tell me, and we'll figure out how to do it. That's what the church should be doing.
Yeah.
Well, and I found that as a shock. Like, we have a food pantry in our church, and one of the things I started asking for is, hey, can we get some toilet paper?
Right.
And people are like, why? It's like, because toilet paper costs money, and a lot of money. Can't afford toilet paper, and so they have other options that you and I don't necessarily want to experience, and we want to alleviate suffering in whatever way that we can. And I think you hit the nail on the question, and maybe this is something that churches can rethink or kind of go back and actually think about. Those that actually listen to the podcast is, are you asking people questions about what can you do to help? Or do we just make assumptions because they fit in a certain category or they're in a certain, deal, like, that they should be down this track when, Chris, you said it right. It's like, while it may be similar, there's going to be some differences.
Right.
And maybe that's where, we as a church can decide to, I know we're in this big see all the people kind of deal. Why don't we just ask all the people? And ask where their hurts are, or what, how can we help you? I think you guys have kind of inspired me. My next appointment, it's a foster care home now. It's a Methodist thing, and the church in the place doesn't have really a good relationship. And so I'm going to try to explore some ways that maybe we can mend those fences that have been broken, but also, just find some simple ways that we can connect in without having to, kill ourselves to try to invest ourselves in one deal. Because, we all know, we're all four pastors. We get an idea and we focus so much energy on one thing, and then everything else loses still, where we could just do one simple thing. We do a communion offering on Sunday for our communion deal. And I encourage people to, hey, when you're at the store, just grab an extra can. And when you come to the altar, just lay that can on the altar. And last year we were able to feed, I think it was like 200 people because of that extra offering.
Nice.
And so, I think that whole deal of starting questions is key. And isn't that what we're really supposed to be about? Just as we don't have the answers, obviously, but, making those connections, asking those questions. And that's why, like, when I reached out to you all, it was more like, I want to know how we can help you all get your story out there, because you guys have such a great story to share that the world needs to hear, because I think that you all are doing it right, even though things have not gone the way that you wanted to. But you've done it in a way of grace that people can look at it and say, hey, maybe God is calling us. And I know that's been my wife and I, we've had that conversation several times, is this something that we feel God leading us to? And after, kind of prayer and discernment, we're like, no, but we have other, there are other things that we are called to do together. And you all have taken this on, and your children are invested in it too. And I think that, you as a family have agreed to do this. And I think that's just, to me, that's a beautiful thing.
Well, I don't know that for us, there's any other way of doing life. We do, our hashtag is often, ministry family style, because that's just the way we've always done life together, is that, we're all in this, we're all bishops, we're all in this together. And, but even today, Saturday, we have a big fundraiser. Next Saturday, they have a big fundraiser. Our community, the American Legion, is putting on a big fundraiser for us. I'm their chaplain there, and they're like, we want to help you. And that's just
because when you see Katie, you think
motorcycle
I bet
chaplain.
She is a motorcycle chaplain.
Yeah. I am on the side. I look great in leather. What are you talking about? But I think, I think it's the authenticity of life that we've lived life together. And, because, I've shared life with them, they've shared life with me. They see this problem and they want to help us fix it. And so they're doing a big fundraiser for us a week from Saturday. And our 5-year-old's like, do I get to finally sell my lemonade for our brother yet? She's been wanting to sell lemonade for the whole time.
Like we had 2 feet of snow,
right? And
she's like, well, the snowplow's coming out, man. It's time
to buy lemonade, and they might have. She's so darn cute. But it is a family effort, and we've been really. I mean, there are parts of it, of course, that you can't explain to 9-year-olds and 5-year-olds, and and that's just life. But they know what happened with the old agency. We have been praying for this as a family. Every time we've got paperwork to sign in, to send in, we pray over it together as a family, because that's the way we work. I mean, this is something that all of us are opening our hearts to, and we believe that this child, our son, is a gift from God, and we want him to know that we've been praying for him long before he ever sets foot in this house. We've been praying for him and longing for him to come home, and that's true for his sisters too. Just today, I tried to throw away some random toy, and they're like, "No, we're saving that for our brother."
It was like a little T-Rex, like plastic molded thing that has all sharp edges, and Katie stepped on it.
Yeah, that's a final straw when you step on some random toy.
The 5-year-old said, "No, we've got to save it for our brother because you've got to have those late night landmines that you can just set in front of mom's, pathway to wherever."
Like Legos, yeah.
Yes. Well, like Matt said, we want. One of the things we try to do with this podcast and everything that we're trying to do is one, let people have a glimpse into our lives and clergy lives and hear other people's stories and know that we're all just real people. And especially with y'all's story, there's so many people around the world that are in the same boat as you who are feeling this call and maybe not knowing what to do with it. Or maybe you've run into the same things that you guys have and got so far and lost the money and aren't getting it back. And what do you do? And y'all's story just has hope dripping all over it. And so, like Matt said, we want to get that out there because it may be what pushes somebody, that family into going, yeah, we're going to do this, or yeah, we can do this. We trust in God that this is what our calling is. And so like Matt said, we want to help get that out there because you do have a beautiful story.
We have a
thanks
blog.
For sharing it with us.
I mean, we've been trying to post. I mean, we're trying to be really transparent in this because that's our hope. Is that when we live our life, other people are impacted by that. As not only as pastors, but as people of faith. And so we have a family. Bishop Family Adopts. .blogspot or something like that. Terrible, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. But we have a blog that we...
I think it's GeoCities.
I don't think it's GeoCities. You're a riot. He's the technological one, and I'm the one who posts the blog. So you can tell it's not... But, we just kind of share. And honestly, my personal Facebook has become like our feelings and our thoughts for it. And we're really blessed because there are people who've gone before us that have shared what it's like on the other side. And that's full of its own challenges too, but what that's like. And we have to be we're prisoners of hope, aren't we? I mean, we're holding on to.
Yeah, because the other option is to not.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
And we believe in Jesus. So, we believe in the resurrection and God's doing something great. It's just not a finished work yet. So
it's and it's, there's at the National Cathedral, one of my favorite things to do is to take young people, especially to the National Cathedral in DC. But right in the center of one of those altar areas, there's a Celtic proverb that says, "Thou art the journey and the journey's end." Which kind of identifies this process for us, is that it's not just the end result of the gotcha day where we bring our son home, but it's leading up to it and knowing that not just the prayers, not just the fundraising, but like this whole thing, so that when that day comes where he is home, I mean, we've been talking about how we're going to have to kind of temper, the community that gets to see him, because it's a little bit overwhelming to be in this new place. But there's this just groundswell of people that, along the journey, have been with us, and so much more it'll be, when we find that journey's end, and it'll be a good thing.
It's a different type of delivery room. We've talked about that with our girls, that it was just us, with Bethany in the delivery room with the doctors, and then with Bethany, my mom was there too, because there was some health issues. But, we've got a lot of people in the delivery room, right now. And a lot of people who are making this family possible for us, bringing this child for us, least of, which is not his biological parents. And we're very thankful for every person who is along the part of this journey for us.
Well, we thank you for your story and your time. I know as pastors and as someone who has young ones, it's, trying to find the right time to do something like this is always difficult. And so we thank you for giving up time to share your story with our listeners. And so, if there's any way that we can help in any way, just let us know. We'd be glad to share, or like if you guys do t-shirt sales again, let us know. We're all about pushing. We've got enough swag stuff that we love pushing that sort of thing. So nice. We have no shame in our game. We want to thank you. And so as we bring this to a close, just go online, look up our stuff. We'll be sharing their information, how you can connect with them and their ways to support them, but then also look into your own communities, because there's someone like them in your own community. And so, go on our website, look at our stuff, buy a couple of coffee mugs, because it helps us do this. So we thank you for your time. And Zach, bring us to a close.
Yeah, sure. Guys, thanks again for sharing your story. We'll get the links to your Blogspot and things like that. And anytime you guys share, like Matt said, we're shameless. We'll push anything. Nice. And so we just want to help you guys get your story out there. And so for all of you guys listening at home or in the car, wherever you're going, look on our Facebook page for the links. Check us out on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. And you can find all the links within those items. Guys, thanks again for sharing with us.
Yeah,
thanks
you
for
guys.
having us.
Yep. For the Bearded Theologians, I'm Zach Bechtold.
And I'm Matt Franks.
Thanks for checking us out.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. We hope you've enjoyed listening, and we hope that you share our content online through Facebook and social media, and we hope that you check out our Beardcast store at beardedtheologians.com and pick up some great Bearded Theologians gear. We hope you have a good day.